The wind howled through Hawkins like the town itself was screaming. The rift above the Creole house pulsed violently, pulling debris, dust, and fragments of buildings upward as if gravity had reversed. Cars slid, trees bent. The sky twisted into impossible colors, deep reds and sickly blues bleeding together. Everyone stood frozen. Will's words still hung in the air. "It needs someone to stay behind." Mike grabbed Will by the collar. No, you don't get to say that. "We're not doing this again." Will didn't resist. He didn't look afraid. "I've seen it," he said quietly. "Every outcome, every version where we fight this together." His eyes met Mike's. "I don't make it out in any of them." 11 stepped forward, shaking her head. "You're wrong," she said desperately. "I can change it," Will smiled gently. "That's what you always say." The entity intervened. The air pressure dropped. Everyone felt it like hands pressing against their chests. The entity's presence flooded the space around the rift. Shadows bent inward, forming a towering shape that flickered between worlds. Its voice echoed, not threatening, not cruel. "The Anchor understands." Hopper raised his weapon, even though he knew it was useless. "You don't get to choose our kids." The entity responded calmly. "Choice is the only thing we respect." Will took a step closer to the rift. 11 screamed. "Stop!" The ground cracked beneath her feet. Will's truthful turned to the group one last time. "I was never just trapped in the Upside Down," he said. "I was connected to it, listening to it, feeling it." He looked at 11. "You opened the door." "I kept it open." Tears streamed down Mike's face. "This isn't fair." Will nodded. "I know," Max spoke softly. "You are not a monster, Will." Will smiled sadly. "That's why this works." The plan finalized. Owen shouted over the roar of the rift. "If Will stabilizes the core from inside, 11 can sever the connection externally." "The merge collapses," Lucas yelled. "And Will?" Owens didn't answer. 11 grabbed Will's hand, her voice breaking. "I won't let you disappear." Will squeezed her hand. "You won't," he said. "You'll remember me." That was worse. Goodbyes. Dustin stepped forward, barely holding it together. "You still owe me a campaign finale." Will laughed weakly. "Guess I'm rage quitting." Lucas pulled Will into a hug. "Thank you," he whispered. Max followed, resting her forehead against his. "You were always stronger than you knew." Finally, Mike. They stood face to face, trembling. "I love you," Mike said. "You know that, right?" Will nodded, tears falling freely now. "I always have." They hugged as the rift screamed louder. Crossing the line, Will stepped into the rift. The world warped around him, colors draining, sound stretching, gravity collapsing. He turned one last time. "Finish it," he said. The entity enveloped him, not violently, but completely. The rift stabilized. Owens shouted, "Now!" 11 screamed, unleashing everything she had. The sky exploded with light. The rift began to collapse. Inward, Hopper shielded the kids as shockwaves tore through the ground. The entity's voice echoed one final time, connection complete, then silence. The rift sealed, the sky cleared. Hawkins stopped shaking. Will Byers was gone. 11 collapsed. Sobbing, Mike fell to his knees, screaming into the empty air, and somewhere deep beneath reality itself, Will opened his eyes. In a world that was no longer Hawkins, Will Byers woke up without a body. At least that's how it felt. There was no ground beneath him, no sky above, only layers of shadow and light folding endlessly in every direction. Sound existed, but not in a way he understood. It vibrated through him instead of reaching his ears. He tried to breathe. He didn't need to, and that terrified him. "Hello," he called. His voice echoed back, older, deeper, multiplied. "You are inside the junction." The voice wasn't one voice. It was many woven together, overlapping, calm and ancient. Will looked down and saw himself, sort of. His form flickered between solid and transparent, like a reflection in broken glass. Images bled through him. Hawkins streets, the Upside Down, memories that weren't his. "You said I would stay," Will said. "So I stayed, and you stabilized us." The shadows shifted, forming shapes, people, places, moments. Will saw the snowball, Mike smiling, his MOM crying, Vector screaming as he burned, then something worse. He saw versions of Hawkins that never existed, cities fused together, skies tearing open, entire worlds overlapping. "This is what happens if I fail," Will whispered. "This is what happens if you leave." The truth of the entity shadows condensed into a massive, horizon-spanning structure, something like a nervous system stretched across infinity. "We are not a monster," the entity said. "We are a convergence." Will shook his head. You almost destroyed my world. Your world is already dying, it replied calmly. So is ours. Separation was never natural. Will felt memories flood him, entire civilizations collapsing after being cut off from parallel realities. Isolation, entropy, decay. You want to merge everything, Will said, even if it kills us. Evolution always kills something. Will clenched his fists. Then you're wrong. What Will is becoming? The space around him reacted. The entity paused. You resist. Naturally, Will felt something awakening inside himself, not power like Eleven's, but something else. Clarity. He could see connections, lines between moments, emotional gravity pulling realities together. You didn't just need an anchor, Will realized. You needed a translator. Correct, Will stepped forward. And now you're stuck with me. For the first time, the entity hesitated. Back in Hawkins, weeks passed. The town was quiet again, but wrong. Buildings stood where they always had. Yet something felt off. People reported missing time. Mirrors distorted reflections for half a second too long. Radios whispered static that sounded like voices. 11 stood at the edge of the sealed fissure every night. He's still there, she told Mike. Mike stared at the ground. I can't feel him, 11 swallowed. I can. Will's choice back in the junction. We'll face the endless network if I stay, he said. I don't belong to you. You cannot exist independently here. Will smiled faintly. I've survived worse. He reached outward, not to dominate, not to merge, but to balance. The network trembled for the first time in its existence. The entity felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. What are you doing? Will answered calmly, redefining the connection. The shadows reorganized. The chaotic overlaps stabilized. Worlds stopped bleeding into one another. Will screamed as the process tore through him. But he didn't stop. The signal back in Hawkins. Every light flickered at once. 11 gasped, clutching her head. He's changing something, she whispered. Owen stared at the monitors in disbelief. The energy signature, it's stabilizing. Harper frowned. Is that good? Owens looked shaken. It's impossible. The truth settled heavily in the room. Will wasn't just surviving. He was becoming something else. Something necessary. Something permanent. Final. A mark in the space between worlds. Will stood no longer flickering. Solid. Grounded. Watching over infinite realities. Not a god. Not a monster. A guardian. And somewhere deep within the network, the entity watched him not as a master, but as an equal.